Let me ask you this question. How many government incentives did you get for your last remodel?
I'm Aaron Stash. Welcome to the Electric Home Show. Ultimately, today I want to talk about home electrification. Why would you consider going electric in your house? Why would that be a healthier, safer, or more comfortable experience for you? Right now, we want to talk about what does it mean to be all electric? So the big things that I'm going to focus on today are heat pumps, heat pump HVAC, heat pump water heaters, heat pump dryers, and induction cooking. But before I get into all of that, why should you care? Why would you want to electrify your house at all? Is anybody familiar with what these colors represent? This is climate change from 1850 through 2024. So as the colors get redder and redder, our planet gets hotter and hotter. We could also look at it from a CO2 level. So if you were born in the 60s, your CO2 level in the atmosphere of the Earth was at 317 parts per million. Today, we're at 414 parts per million. Why does that matter? As we get more CO2 in our atmosphere warms. I won't go too far into the physics, but if you think about the planet Venus, Venus is actually the hottest planet in the solar system, even though it's not as close as Mercury. The reason Venus is the hottest planet in the solar system is because its atmosphere is primarily CO2. It has a big giant blanket on it. And so we're not quite Venus, but we are on the trajectory up. But maybe you're not worried about global climate change. What about things happening here locally? So I'm also on the Northbrook Sustainability Commission. I was part of Northbrook's Climate Action Plan that started in 2020. And this is Northbrook greenhouse gas emissions. 74% of Northbrook's emissions come from the energy of our buildings, whether they be electricity or natural gas systems. So a lot of the times when we're talking about environmental issues and concerns, we talk about, hey, we should plant some trees, which I'm all for. We should recycle, which I'm all for. Northbrook's waste footprint accounts for 5% of the overall greenhouse gas emissions. So recycling is great, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to reverse or stop climate change. That's why we look at our buildings. Also to note here, Northbrook uses 160% more electricity than the average regional home in Illinois, and Northbrook uses 140% more gas than the average home in Illinois. Why else should you care? We all spend time in our houses. So Americans spend 90% of our time today indoors. Right now, we're indoors, right? When it's raining, when it's super hot outside, when it's cold outside, we're spending more time out indoors. We're no longer an agrarian society spending time, tilling the fields and doing all these different things. We're at our computers hunched over. And so why is that important? Well, if you had this glass of water, would you drink that glass of water? Or if you were handed this piece of fruit, would you eat that piece of fruit? Probably not. But does anybody know what we're breathing in right now? I've got a sensor that says our CO2 level in this room is 816. So it's twice that of outdoor air right now in this room. So we've got a pretty big open space. We're not quite full to the gills, but think about COVID and all the things that we were concerned about with airflows and being inside with each other, having social distancing, all the things that are flying around through the air, which we can't see. Those are all reasons to electrify your house. In your house, we talk about the gas systems in your house. So gas stoves, as one instance, affect your indoor air quality. You're essentially cooking over a campfire. And if you're not ventilating that with a range hood, you are cooking a campfire in your house. And as you're cooking with that gas, which is cooking with gas, 1920s advertising slogan, which we've all been party to for the last 100+ years, these gas ranges are circulating pollutants inside our house, which are raising asthma risks, especially in young children, as well as other instances. There are also studies that show even when your gas range is off, it's still leaking benzene and other chemicals into your house. So if you have a gas range, make sure you're ventilating that gas range. And we'll talk about why you might want to change and what you could change to. Also, safety. So just in Illinois, over the past 5 years, we've had 28 natural gas explosions, resulting in 12 deaths. That's just in Illinois. The background image is from Melanie Lane in Northbrook, Illinois in January of 2019. So this isn't a faraway issue. This isn't just the house that exploded a couple weeks ago in Crestwood, killing one. This is a localized issue. If you have gas in your house, you have a combustible material, so you need to be very safe with that. I promise it gets more positive. Costs. So costs continue to fluctuate, right? We're worried about what's happening in the Middle East. We're worried about what's happening at home. We're worried about where is our energy coming from? How reliable is the grid? As these prices fluctuate, that is volatility for homeowners. So in this instance, if you're using gas, we had a huge gas spike in 2022 with our prices and kind of how much that costs. ComEd, NICOR, all of our utilities are continually adjusting what these prices should be. And that's a lot of volatility. What is that going to mean in the future? In general, energy prices don't go down, right? Think about the gas tank. How much did you fill up for 20 years ago? What did that gas cost you then versus what does it cost you now? It's the same thing with electricity. It's the same thing with natural gas infrastructure. And then who doesn't have a hot or cold room in their house, right? It was 98 degrees over the weekend. Hopefully all of your air conditioners were still up and running. This is the biggest time for HVAC changes happening in emergency situations. Heat pumps and electrification can make your house more comfortable. You don't have to suffer through that really cold room or that really hot room. Why is that there? And why do we just deal with it? But what does it mean to have an all-electric home? Again, we're talking about heat pumps or electric resistance, which I won't get into too much because heat pumps are really a new technological innovation that everybody should know about. I say new, they've been around for 100 years, but new in terms of how they work here in the Chicago and Northbrook area. But what is a heat pump? How many people have an air conditioner at home? How many people have a refrigerator at home? Those are both heat pumps. They are one-way heat pumps. So your refrigerator isn't a microwave. You can't use it to heat up your food. And your air conditioner, probably today, isn't used to heat up your house. But a heat pump can actually do both. It can actually go in cold mode and heating mode. And so I'll also talk a little bit briefly about my YouTube channel. If you check this out on the Electric Home Show, you're going to see a lot of slides today that I've used in the various videos that I produced on the Electric Home Show about why you should care. What's a heat pump? What are these technologies? So in this instance, the heat pump can both generate heat and cold air into your house. Essentially, you can replace your one-way air conditioner with a two-way heat pump. So think about your car. You probably wouldn't buy a car that only goes in reverse or only goes forward. It would be very hard to drive. Another good example is maybe you have a pool in your backyard here in Northbrook. You can't use that pool in November, December, January, February, right? Unless you're indoors. And so your air conditioner is the same way. You're not using your one-way air conditioner all year round. So when you need to replace that air conditioner, which everybody's going to have to do, why would you then buy another one-way air conditioner? Why not buy a two-way heat pump to both cool and heat your house? An example, it can be a ductless system. So you may have seen these in different parts of the area. Think about a hotel room that you might go into. So a hotel room has a system that both heats and cools your room. That's a heat pump. It's a very rudimentary version of this, maybe not the most technologically advanced, but it can both heat and cool through electricity. These can also be hooked up to your existing furnace system. So if you have an existing ducted furnace and air conditioner, the way your furnace works today is it heats that air with gas and it blows it throughout the house. And your air conditioner sits in two parts. It has that outdoor unit on the outside, and then your indoor air conditioner is a cooling coil, sits in that same spot and blows the cold air throughout your house. You can do this same thing with a heat pump. The interesting piece about heat pumps in general is I think about it like barbecue. You want it to run low and slow for as long as you can because you get all of those flavors. Or if you're a vegetarian, think about your car. Your car is most efficient on the highway when you're going the same speed for a long amount of time. Your heat pump wants to run as much as it can to keep your house at an even temperature. Chances are your own home's furnace systems are probably 2, 3, or 4 times larger than what your house needs. HVAC folks don't want you to call them back and say, hey, it's too hot or too cold with this new system. So the rule of thumb often is we'll just oversize it because our houses have been super leaky. So all the energy is going to go out the window anyway, or through the cracks in the floor and the cracks in the door. And so we'll just oversize the systems to make up for the fact that our houses are really leaky. And what you get then is you get a heater that ramps up really high, really fast, and you're boiling in your house for the first 5 minutes. And then for the next half hour, you're getting gradually colder and colder and colder until then 5 minutes later of heat. And the same thing with your air conditioning. So if you're freezing when your air conditioner kicks on, and then you're really hot 30 minutes later, those are the challenges of traditional systems. Heat pumps don't work like that. But do they work in Chicago? Do they work in cold weather? Yes. Our house in Northbrook has never had a gas furnace. We've only ever heated and cooled our home in Northbrook with heat pump technology. Current technologies can go to 100% capacity to negative 13 degrees Fahrenheit, and then a lower capacity after that. Okay, so what do we do during the polar vortex, right? Is this going to work? Is my home going to freeze? Woo, look out. 2 different things. So there are hybrid heat pump technologies, just like a hybrid car, where you could have a gas furnace that backs up your house for the coldest of cold temperatures for the 1, 2, 3, maybe a week during the winter time that we've got that polar vortex. Or you can put an electric resistance heater inside of your system, or you might put a space heater in or something on the wall, or put a sweater on for that 1 week. Again, we're talking negative 20 degree temperatures. We're not talking 99% of the time, but there are ways and solutions for that. The other thing I didn't mention here with heat pumps is that heat pump technology can be 300 to 400% more efficient than any other technology. Your most efficient gas furnace is 95, maybe 98% efficient use of that gas. Your heat pump can be 300 to 400%. How is that? Back to thermodynamics, which I'm not going to go through totally. We're not creating energy, but the way that we're moving these refrigerants through the systems allows us to get more heat or more cooling than the amount of electricity we're putting into the systems. I'll say so the question for everybody is, what's the cost to replace these systems? So in any instance, it depends. I'll get a little bit more into that. And a lot of it is also about total cost of ownership. So in terms of paying for something that's more expensive today, that's actually saving you money in the future because of the energy use that it's using. So whatever the instances, we can talk more about kind of what that might be. But that's a big thing to look at with home electrification, is working your home as a system. Everything goes together. And so if you had a really leaky old house, this probably wouldn't be the first thing that I would recommend. But we'll get to that. Great question. Going on. Also, how else can we use heat pumps? Hot water heaters. So about 10 years ago or so, when we built our house, on-demand gas water heaters were all the rage, right? It's super efficient. I'm not heating water with gas all the time. I'm only using it when I need to. What we actually found out with these systems is because they're going on and off more than a typical gas water heater, actually worse for the environment than a typical gas water heater. Because again, if you take that car analogy, your on-demand gas water heater is turning on and turning off and turning on and turning off and turning on, just like you're driving city traffic. You're not getting efficiency there. You actually want it to run low and slow and heat that water. Well, a way to do low and slow is with a heat pump water heater. So again, this is an electric system, and for the most part, it is an electric water heater, 75% of it with the tank, and then on top, there is a heat pump. So again, just like your HVAC system, just like your existing air conditioner, just like your existing refrigerator, it's taking energy out of the air to heat the water. And this, again, can heat the water low and slow. But do I need a new house to do that? No. So again, on my YouTube channel, The Electric Home Show, I have a number of 100-year-old or more homes that have gone electric in Illinois. This isn't California, this isn't Massachusetts or whatever. These are homes in Illinois that have gone all electric. So this unit here was a Rheem Richmond brand that they bought at Menards, installed himself, heat pump technology. Moving on, clothes dryers. Heat pump clothes dryers have been around for years and years and years. I often, you could think of these as the European versions. So there's a Bosch or Miele brand. They're cute, they're kind of small. You're wondering if you can get more than 2 hoodies in them to wash. They work really effectively, and they've been around for years and years. Now, today, you can actually purchase I'll call it American-sized heat pump dryer. Why would you do that? This dryer doesn't need to be vented. So I don't have to have an outside wall to vent my dryer. What does that mean? Maybe I've got a primary bedroom closet that I want to put a washer and dryer system into, but it's on the inside of my house. In this instance, all I need is a water line and power. I don't need to vent that system to an outside wall. There are also a number of systems that can be side by side, stacked, or all in one. So again, if you go to Apt, talking with those folks, a lot of people are buying all-in-one systems as a secondary system just for their primary bedroom closet, because they can just throw things in there and set it and forget it, walk away, and they've got a regular system for the rest of their household. If you're living 1 or 2 people in a home, this probably all-in-one system could be a good solution for you, because you're probably not doing as much laundry as someone with 2 teenagers who play sports and only wear hoodies 3 times a day. All right. Induction cooking. Is anybody familiar with induction cooking? All right, Julie, great. So Julie's actually coming over tomorrow. We're hosting an all-electric home tour, and she's going to be cooking on the induction cooktop. But what is induction? Is it just the old coils with the electricity coming through them that takes forever? No, that is not what induction is. Induction cooking is cooking with magnets. So you're actually heating the pan or the pot itself. You're not just heating the air and the atmosphere around you. And so it's a much safer. It's also as fast and faster than a gas cooktop, as responsive as a gas cooktop, and way easier to clean up than a gas cooktop, because there are no grates or anything to move in there. So you're just wiping it off. It's also super safe because you're not heating the burners like an electric cooktop. You wouldn't just want to slap your hand down on an electric burner, but when your induction cooktop is done cooking, you can put your hand on there pretty quickly after. It still heats up the pan, so you got to be careful of what residual heat the pan left over, but you can basically put a piece of paper underneath between the pan and the cooktop and still cook the food, because it just goes through that as a magnet system. A little bit of animation here. So, induction cooking has actually been around since the 1980s. So none of these technologies that I'm talking about are brand new, right? Heat pumps, refrigeration, early 1900s. Induction cooking since the 1980s. These induction cooktops are also being employed in many high-end restaurants. So Alinea downtown, French Laundry in California, and many, many more are using induction cooking because it's safer and it's more comfortable for their chefs. They no longer need to heat up their entire kitchen. If anybody worked in food services and went back to the back kitchen and all those gas burners are going, it's hot back there, right? It's still going to be a little hot back there, but with induction cooking, it's going to be a lot cooler and a lot safer for everybody. So what should you do now? Well, this is the energy efficiency pyramid. And the first thing on that, we're looking from bottom up, is understanding and awareness, right? You're here today learning, why should I care? What's important to you from a homeowner perspective, from a resident of the Chicago area. And so we're talking about all these different things. But as we go up this pyramid, cost and complexity increase. So to go back to your question, Marcia, HVAC is one of the most expensive things you're going to ever purchase for your home. It's probably one of the most expensive things in life you're going to purchase besides your home and your car. And somebody mentioned to me my college education for my kids, perhaps, right? And so HVAC, it's not a cheap payment. And oftentimes when we replace our HVAC systems or our hot water heaters, we do so in an emergency. Nobody thinks about HVAC, except my wife jokes, I think about it way too much. But chances are you don't think about your air conditioner until this weekend when it died. You don't think about your water heater until 2 months ago it spilled all over the basement floor and ruined your carpet and your finished basement, because they just work, right? We just want them to work. We don't want to think about it. And so the work that I do with the Electric Home Company is to help people build out a plan so that when those things fail, which they will fail, we have a system set up so that we can change it out. But what about solar and windows? My house is really leaky and I should get those things. Yes, there's a lot of great marketing for solar. There's a lot of great marketing for windows. And yes, you should get them if you need them. But this is often the place that people go to. They want a more comfortable house. And okay, we changed out all of our light bulbs because we can no longer buy an incandescent bulb from Ace Hardware or Lowe's or wherever. And so now we've got these LED lighting and we moved to a new house. Well, we got to put new windows in, right? This building here, we got to put new windows in. Well, if any of you are runners, there are a lot of runners that I see around in the wintertime who are still wearing shorts and sometimes still wearing a shirt. But what did they do? They put a stocking cap on. They put gloves on. Well, what's the equivalent of that? Attic insulation. All of your heat in your house goes up. It doesn't go out. It goes up. So you want to insulate your attic, even more so important than replacing your windows. Now, if there's a hole in the window, drafts are coming in, sure. But like the first thing you should be thinking of isn't necessarily your windows. And solar panels, excellent opportunity. Solar panels don't keep you warm at night. They don't make your house more comfortable. And they don't improve the energy efficiency of your house. They can help offset or create energy for what you're using in your house. But again, I'm all in favor of these technologies, but it's the process and the order that we're following. So today, things you can do after this, air quality monitoring. So we were at 814 CO2. I've been talking for a half hour. Now we're at 854 CO2 in this room alone. Does anybody monitor their air quality at home? Does anybody think about it? What about when there's a wildfire smoke coming in? Do we close our windows so that that doesn't come in? Or maybe more locally, somebody's burning leaves in their backyard, right? It's not really allowed in this area. I grew up in central Illinois and people will burn their leaves till the cows come home, as they would say. And it's horrible, right? It's polluting my indoor air. And so systems that are out there, energy recovery ventilators can bring fresh air into your house and can filter that air as well. Next thing you could do, energy monitoring. Do you know what in your house is using power or not? So I have a system called the Emporia View with a whole rat's nest of wires in there. But essentially I can measure specific circuits in my house to see how much power is being used in each of those systems. If you're not measuring it, how can you manage it? What about the grid? If we electrify, the grid is going to fail, right? Okay, here's another eye chart for you. This is Illinois' energy generation from 1990 to 2023. So in 1990, 43% of Illinois' power was from coal power. In 1990, 43%. Today, fossil fuels make up 32%. Coal is only 15%. What did we do? We shifted to natural gas, right? We have all these natural gas plants now, which are still burning fossil fuels. They're just burning cleaner fossil fuels, if such a thing exists. But our renewables can continue to increase. Barely any renewable energy in 1990. Now we're up to 13.5% renewable energy, all right? But in Illinois, we've got Homer Simpson out there. He's keeping track of all of our nuclear plants. It's clean energy in a certain sense, but the cheapest energy that you can build today without any incentives is solar and wind. the cost of building a new nuclear plant is astronomical. And then you're not going to build a new coal plant because it's even more expensive than putting up solar fields and different things like that. So we're moving to a more renewable grid. So as you electrify your house, you're using more renewable power. The other thing with the grid stability is, yes, we need to update our grid. We also need to update our gas infrastructure. What do you think is cheaper, updating gas infrastructure that's in the ground or updating electrical infrastructure that's over our heads? Right? I'm going to say electrical infrastructure over our heads. Moving those wires is a lot less invasive to our communities than digging up all of our old pipes and fixing our gas infrastructure. What about my windows? Yes, going back to energy efficiency. I hope everybody has LED lighting, or you're thinking about LED lighting. I really don't think you can buy. Has anybody bought an incandescent light bulb lately? I think you can, but it's more challenging. Sure. More challenging, right? Yeah, you got to use Bitcoin to pay for it and things like that. But yeah, change out your LED lighting. You're going to save money immediately with that if you haven't done it already. Air sealing and insulation. Back to, would I put a heat pump in an old leaky house? Probably not the first thing I would do. I would make sure that we insulate that house. Again, put that hat on, attic insulation, put that coat on, wall insulation, and then seal it up. We're zipping it up, right? We're wearing a windbreaker, and then we're putting our parka on top of that, and we're ready to go conquer Chicago's winters. And then energy efficient windows. Yes, look at your windows. How much more efficient can they be? The benefit of more energy efficient windows is the thicker they are, 3-pane windows, you're also going to have less noise coming into your house. So there are businesses in the Chicago area that put windows in Rosemont and around the airports for the noise reduction. Those are actually super energy efficient windows as well. They're not necessarily putting them in for that reason. They're putting in for noise dampening, but because you're sealing it, you're getting those double benefits. Marcia, back to your question, what is this going to cost? All right. So this is our gas bill from the last year. And I'll say our home is all electric right now. When we had gas, and the systems that we had in our house that were gas were our on-demand gas water heater, we had a gas clothes dryer, and a gas fireplace. We did not have a gas furnace. We had a gas range for a while, cooktop. We never paid more than $42 a month for gas in the 12 years that we've lived in Northbrook. $20 of that $42 is just to have gas, just to have it delivered to our house and have NICOR say, here's some gas for you. We hope you use it. $20 a month. So that's $240 a year that I no longer have to spend on gas. But I do spend more on electricity. But I spend that more on electricity mostly in the wintertime, right? So this example may be a bit of an eye chart. In the summertime, our all-electric house is more efficient than the most efficient house in Northbrook. In the wintertime, where we have to heat our house from 0 degrees outside to 70 degrees, yes, we're using more electricity. By doing so, we actually get a program through ComEd for all-electric heat. And our all-electric heat distribution rate is 50% less than someone who doesn't have electric heat. So I pay less money to ComEd because I have electric heat. It's a separate program you have to ask for. But on this side, 56% of our electricity use comes from our electric cars and our HVAC system. So I didn't really go into electric cars, but typically it cost me about $60 a month to fuel my electric cars for 2 electric cars for 1 month. That's probably 1 tank of gas for most of you. All right. And 46% of my power is generated by solar panels, right? We don't currently have a way to generate natural gas. We can't generate natural gas to power our furnaces, but we can generate electricity to power our heat pumps, right? So that's why solar sits at the top there. Once I've electrified the entire building, now I know what my energy load is, and I can install solar panels on my house to reduce that overall capacity. I actually have some friends I know who can take their house off the grid. They live in Edison Park. They're off the grid. They've got a battery backup system. He hits a button on his phone and he has taken his house off the grid. And so he can power his whole house, all of his HVAC systems, and charge his car by the solar panels on his house and the battery that he collected from the grid when it was super cheap power, right? You can't do that with natural gas. This is an upgrade to your life and an upgrade to your experience to electrify your house. We're not talking about trade-offs. We're not talking about, hey, it's going to be 20 degrees colder than I really want it to be because I'm super eco-friendly and a tree hugger, which I am. I want to be comfortable too, right? This is a more comfortable experience, and I don't want to pay a utility any more than I have to. But what about incentives? Yes, there are federal incentives for a while. There are state incentives. In some cases, there are local incentives. There are some utility incentives out there. But I ask you this question. How many government incentives do you get for your last home remodel? When you put that new marble countertop in, right? When you got that, new tile brought in from Italy, or, when you upgraded this magnificent chandelier in your foyer, how much did the government pay you for those systems? Or did you just choose to do it because it was an upgrade to your house? You valued that experience. It's a challenge with HVAC and hot water. You don't see it. It's not sexy. Take people down. Hey, check out my heat pump water heater, right? It's from Korea. It's fantastic. Yeah, okay. So yes, there are incentives out there. Who knows what's going to happen federally with those incentives? Luckily, we live in the state of Illinois, where Illinois is helping to bring it about and keep those incentives going. ComEd as well has different incentives, so it's out.
Thanks for watching my presentation to the Northbrook Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I'm Aaron Stash. Thanks for watching the Electric Home Show. Like and subscribe for more. If you're a homeowner interested in a healthy, energy-efficient electric home, reach out to us at electrichomecompany.com to schedule your free virtual coffee today. Thanks for watching.